Alright, I guess I'll make a TNO video. I've put it off for a while because honestly, playing TNO in 2025 is just kinda depressing when you think about what could have been. Current devs will look at you with a straight face telling you big things are coming soon, and after 6 months of waiting, that big thing will be 4 years of Vatican City gameplay where you use the decision menu to decorate the Sistine Chapel. But fortunately, there are forks out there, so I'm playing TNO Requiem, which adds more content to the best part of the mod, the Russian warlords, where they now have content for fighting Germany after unifying Russia. So we will jump in as Omsk, or the Siberian Black League, which has a bunch of new content relating to the Great Trial and its quest to destroy Germany. If you're not familiar with the lore, I'll give you the quick rundown. As you've probably figured, the Soviets didn't do so hot during the Second World War, and they lost a lot more land. 10 years later, the remnants of the Soviet Union gathered their strength for an attack to retake their lost land, starting the West Russia War. While they did make some promising gains at first, political infighting caused the offensive to fizzle out and fail. The government collapsed, and regional warlords took what they could where they could. Enter Dmitry Karbashev. He had escaped German capture to fight in the West Russia War, and upon seeing how they were running things there, he knew he had to take charge. This did not work out for him, so Karbashev took his supporters and set up the Black League in Omsk to build up for the Great Trial where Russia would finally beat Germany in a war. Sadly for Karbashev, there wasn't much build-up he could do in one city, and he just hit his 30th birthday, so he was getting pretty old. When he'd talk about the Great Trial, even his own officers wouldn't take him seriously. Except for Dmitry Yazov, who he named his successor. Alright, now you know how we got in this situation. So, where do we go from here? Well, Karbashev has some more sulking to do. Can't blame him, to be fair. Look where we are. I was told we've been militarizing Omsk for the Great Trial, and after like 5 to 7 years, I can't say we have much to show for it. Our few troops are half equipped, and we rely on raiding others for growth, just like everyone else. The Federation of Novosibirsk tries to take our loot, but we send their soldiers running back. Inspired by that victory, I tried to raid the West Siberian Republic, and well, it wasn't looking good. They had armor, and our only counter was to make them feel bad about killing us. It didn't end well. Meanwhile, Karbashev had reached the peak of his depression. He felt like a failure. The Great Trial was approaching, and not just Russia, but the League itself was more divided than ever. So, on a cold winter night, he ventured out alone and let nature claim him. Yazov was in charge now, and his first order of business was to rein in the insubordination and corruption that become widespread in Omsk. Surprisingly, didn't go over well with a bunch of insubordinate and corrupt officers.
What?
Thus begins the gauntlet. The League doesn't stand a chance if we can't get everyone in line, so Yazov needs to pacify the rebellious forces in the cities of Tara and Issyk. So first, I have to hire a new cabinet to help Yazov, which then unlocks a whole bunch of decisions to deal with this revolt. And you also have another focus tree giving you help as well. There are many ways to deal with revolting citizens and traitorous officers. Yazov doesn't hold back knowing what's at stake. By September 1963, Yazov had successfully neutralized the subversive elements around Omsk, meaning that it was now time to start looking outwards with our next focus tree. We now have a new decision category to prepare us for the fight for our region. We have military supplies that we can use to give us buffs, and we have a chaos meter that tells us how chill our civilians are with all the war. With Hitler's death, the German Civil War fires off, which means all the heat is off on us and we can actually build things again. Despite our mission to militarize Omsk to take control over Russia, our army is pretty small at 9 divisions with a very mediocre template. This makes us look like an excellent target for the neighboring West Siberian People's Republic. I guess they thought we were so easy they didn't need to actually prepare because half their border with us was ungarrisoned. I couldn't let them have the initiative in this war, so I exploited their gaps and ran across the river. I actually managed to split their group in two, with the majority of their armored forces being in the north. However, despite this major victory, I couldn't exploit it due to my lack of forces. The Siberian units in the north could still live off of local supply, so I figured I should just keep them isolated there and go for the kill. At least my units were much better than the Siberian ones. Now that they had AT in all the infantry, those APC divisions could be handled with ease. However, we just ended up in a stalemate, and to make matters worse, the Ural military district started their attack on me. I was sweating now. The Ural troops were mass charging my division, and they desperately needed reinforcements. Meanwhile, the economy is about to die in 6 months due to our debt being way too high. Although, this makes me think, who's actually lending us money? We are literally a random city in Siberia. No way the IMF isn't laughing Yazov's unrecognized ass out of the office when he asks for a loan. Anyways, the only way for me to grow my economy is by conquering others, so I have a time limit to beat these other warlords. In March, Yazov begins an industrial development program to build some armored vehicles. This turned out great results with us getting 250 tanks and 250 AFVs. Although they are well over a decade out of date, it was perfect for dealing with poorly armed militia. I made a template with 2 battalions of armor and converted 2 divisions to have that armor. This gave me the offensive power I needed to push across the river and envelop Tumen. While this was great news for the front, back home it was looking bad. Chaos was overtaking Omsk and seriously hampering our war effort. I had to take emergency measures to calm the people while I took Tumen. After that, it felt like the Siberian army had collapsed, but I wasn't able to fully exploit it because the Ural district was hammering away at my flank, tying up my best units. Still, some infantry were able to push forward and approach their final stronghold in Chelyabinsk. I had to be very risky here and stretch myself super thin to reach the city, leaving holes in my line and unfortunately abandoning Tumen to the Ural district. Fortunately, the Urals getting that city doesn't give the Siberians surrender progress back, so all I had to do was take Chelyabinsk. After baiting out some defenders, I was able to move into the city with little resistance and force the West Siberian People's Republic to surrender. This bought my economy a lot of time, but still, I needed to beat the Ural district, who outnumbered me greatly and now had a wide front line to attack me from. I made the only real choice of retreating out of most of the conquered territory and set up a new defensive line in the forest around my border. While I was managing this retreat, we get the news that Speer won the German Civil War. Once we re-established the defensive line, the plan was, for a while, to use our superior quality troops to launch probing attacks on the Ural district troops when they tried to prepare an assault against us. Since they don't have a big industrial base, I figured after a few months of this, the casualties would catch up to them. After 2 months of this, and successfully baiting their guys into a pocket, we had done a lot of damage to their forces. You could really see it by looking at the state of their divisions on the front lines. I was pretty confident I could take them at this point, so I got all my divisions to attack for real this time, and those poor soldiers of the Ural district couldn't take it. They practically melted in front of me, and the League easily trudged through the Siberian countryside to cut their forces in half. The war was won at this point, and we just needed to march into their cities to let the people know that it is over. Finally, the Black League had triumphed, and Yazov could breathe a sigh of relief. There was still some more warlords to take care of, but the Ural District and Siberian Republic were the main 2 opponents in this region, so with them gone and me getting all their industry, things were going to be a lot easier. The Black League spent the remainder of the year taking over the other warlords in western Siberia, like the Opportunist Scum in the Zlataus Republic, the Den of Thieves up in Yugra, and finally the Bolsheviks around Nizhny Tagil. 2 years ago, Karbyshev's goal seems like a pipe dream, but now Yazov had made that goal into something within sight. It was still a long ways away with all the people against the League's vision, and Yazov was fully aware of that. He would just need to keep tightening his grip. Now that we have some legitimacy and somewhat of an economy, our economic prospects have greatly expanded and we can do much more investment. Our focus tree advances to the next phase, and as we develop this land, we need to be wary of a new threat, Pavel Batov. He had gathered the remnants of his loyal men and is continuing the fight against us in the recently captured cities of Tyumen and Sverdlovsk. He had also somehow recruited Karbachev's daughter to rally people against us. This rebellion is serious and could lead to our downfall, so we must deal with it quickly. We have a new decision section to show us the situation. Batov has set up bases all over the recently conquered territory, and we gotta weed them out. It is a game where I need to move into rebel states to attack their bases and then set up a base in the state to clear up their forces. But as this happens, Batov's partisans are expanding their own reach into unsecured states or attacking my bases. You also have a limited amount of total bases you can make, and will eventually have to dismantle old ones to place new ones. I have to be pretty strategic here and use my bases to cut off ways the insurgency spreads. As the fight goes on, I can place bases in the rebel cities, which gives me a special operation to permanently hurt the rebels and make them unable to set up in that city again. By 1966, Batov had been pushed out of his main cities and the noose was tightened around his neck. Operation Crooked Fang cleared him out of his last stronghold in Vorkuta, and from there, his strength spiraled down the drain. With things looking good internally, I thought it was time to look outwards and get some international recognition. And while our diplomats traveled to the US and Japan, we began Operation Nightfall to kill Batov for good, as we finally discovered the compound he's hiding in. As the operation is underway, our diplomats report back. Our delegation to Japan did not leave a good impression.
How are you doing this morning? Oh, God.
Meanwhile, America was surprisingly impressed by us. Operation Nightfall also went just as planned, with Batov being flushed out of the compound and shot as he tried to escape. Seems like we sold the Americans a whole load of bull to get them to recognize us. Yazov saying he's gonna be responsible with his military and democratize. Bruh, how do you look at this man who's in charge of the all-Russian Black League and believe he's gonna give up power? With Batov dead, Karbachev's daughter tries to drive off to the west. She thinks Yazov had betrayed her father's beliefs, becoming all about hating Germany instead of wanting to protect Russia, and now wants to warn the world of his evil plans. Too bad for her, we ended that road trip before it started. With Yazov's government safe from any internal threats, all there was to do for the next few years was build up the economy and army for the eventual showdown with the West Russian front. Now that I have an economy to build some decent troops, I know everything is going to be super easy for me. My template isn't that special, but elite infantry is just so overpowered you don't even need special forces. Whoever thought it was a good idea to force a player to do a bunch of decisions right when they want to declare war needs to be banned from modding HOI4. I've been preparing for this for the last 3 years. Why do I need to wait another 8 months? Actually, scratch banned from modding HOI4, banned from ever modding again. The war starts and yeah, I don't think they're gonna push me, guys. It was a very straightforward war. Once they exhausted themselves against my troops, I started with an offensive in the southern Urals to destroy their forces and overstretch Zhukov's line as he tried to respond to it. This made it very easy to launch an all-out attack across the front, which just crushed the West Russia front. I'm glad the game made me spend 8 months doing useless preparations for a war that was over in less than 6 months. Zhukov tries to warn the world about the weaponry Zyazov wants to use on the Germans, and we had to shut him down. We were preparing for Armageddon here, making underground bunkers along with nukes and chemical weapons. This results in Zyazov having an Oppenheimer moment when being shown the chemical weapon test. The chemical weapons I wanted kill people. I kinda didn't see the nuclear interface for a while, but in 1971 I finally do, and start dumping money to build our first nuke. As this happens, I begin my attack on the remaining Siberian warlords. after spending 6 months preparing for it. I wonder if they're gonna be able to put up a fight. Oh wow, who could have seen that one coming? It's such a shame. A big ass slave revolt and Yazov of all people has to sit here staring. You'd think the Black League would be all about radicalizing and supporting slaves to fight Germany, but we're not in the cool timeline where TNO got fleshed out enough to add that. Anyways, in December 1971, the last Siberian warlord is annexed by the Black League, and Yazov can finally claim to have reunified the motherland. I like how the quote on Yazov's supervent is from a guy he killed after he invaded his land. With Russia united, it is time to prepare the people for the Great Trial. We get an event about Yazov having a Paul Atreides moment now, where he's low-key scared of the movement he's created, but he's in too deep to stop it. So here we have our next gimmick of the weapons of national vengeance, where we make our chemical weapons to eventually use on the Teutons, along with another focus tree. The Great Trial is imminent, and we have to make sure the nation is ready. While Spear puts down the revolts against his reforms, we're making man-made horrors over here. For example, the LPC-70, a new type of flamethrower, but instead of shooting flames, it spews corrosive chemicals that can melt through metal and concrete. It's a new type of equipment that goes in all my infantry, and oh my god, it's so busted. These are my infantry divisions. They are practically tank divisions now. It's kind of funny how the great powers of the world are de-escalating and making things better, and here I am building up to ruin it all. The chem throwers would get their first taste of combat in Central Asia as I moved to re-secure the former Soviet territories. As I re-established order in these regions, Spear established his order in Europe with him talking down the slave revolt. And damn, they actually did the Gang of Four ending to transition Germany to a democracy. It's a shame I'm gonna have to destroy them, but I think there's a moral here. Just because you say you're gonna change doesn't mean you can't be held accountable for your past. Although the being held accountable in question is basically... After Central Asia secured, we found the perfect spot to test a new weapon. Wow, even in this timeline, Russia is still trying to destroy the Aral Sea. To the world, the story is that this was just a big earthquake, but I doubt that's going to fool anyone because in reality, Object 416 was an 80 megaton bomb. For comparison, the Tsar Bomba in our timeline was somewhere between 50 and 58 megatons, which means you ain't hiding that. Yazov is just standing in Kazakhstan like,
please disperse! Nothing to see here!
We have completely devastated the area around the Aral Sea, causing over 150,000 casualties, which also makes you wonder why he did it here instead of the empty wastelands of Siberia. Well, I guess it's kind of made clear in the next event, the Truth in Numbers. We assign a guy to look over economic data to determine the health of Russia's economy, and the dude breaks down in panic. We aren't building an economy here, we are building a machine to destroy Germany, and if something doesn't help the machine, then we don't do it. We only take care of the people just enough for them to continue working in the machine, which is why over 86% of the population remains in poverty. Our next target is Finland, who somehow is still standing alone when they got the Black League on their border. In addition to our overpowered infantry, I have planes now, so when the attack begins, the battles aren't even close. I'm moonwalking over Finland, and not even some German volunteers can slow me down. The casualties towards the end really just say it all. The war is over in 2 months, and now the Black League can take its revenge on the country with Russification policies. In May 1974, I can pretty easily say I'm ready. I mean, I have a good feeling of how exactly the Great Trial will go at this point. The "we are ready" focus, however, does not actually start the war though. It instead leads to more focuses to start the war. The padding is just so crazy. It's comical. In August, I finally do the focus that will actually start the Great Trial for real. We send a reasonable ultimatum from Germany. They need to give up all of Eastern Europe to us, all their government officials, 100 billion Reichsmarks of reparations, complete control over their government and economy, and have the people ready to face a punishment to be determined by the Black League government. We ended with, "We await your response," but Spear had something else going on.
Minor ACS fault here. Do you have anything on your scope? Sierra Delta, repeat.
I'm looking at fighter jets over I-95! How the hell did they get through?
It was time to smash the Eagle for good. There are some new mechanics relating to the war. We have to advance and take cities to keep our war exhaustion down, but taking cities increases the tension level, which could lead to nukes being thrown at each other. We spent over a decade building up to this moment. Time to let them have it. And my biggest worry is confirmed. The German AI can't fight me at all, bruh. Their front instantly collapsed. The war started on August 20th, and on August 31st, I'm at 9,000 casualties to their 327,000 casualties, of which 200,000 is Germany's. I know you're playing TNO more for the story than the gameplay, but it really takes you out of it when it's this easy. The whole narrative is that we're this underdog nation who spent the last decade building up to finally get our revenge against this seemingly unstoppable monster that destroyed us twice before, but doesn't really hit when I just press go on the battle plan and less than a month later, over 600,000 Einheitspact troops are gone. It's such a shame it's like this because there's all this content while the war is going on that just doesn't matter. We have an incident in Ukraine where we accidentally shot at Hungarian soldiers. Well, who cares about pulling Hungary in when I got Germany at 0 divisions? It's been 3 months, bruh. Who has the rotten structure now? As we're walking through Eastern Europe, we got the buzzkills coming in saying they don't like all the chemical and biological weapons we're using, and they're gonna do something if we continue to go through with this genocidal war against the Germans, which is just not fair. They all get to do genocides and walk it off, but when I do it, now it's an international problem. I eventually stop moving forward when the attention level reaches 90%. Romania kills some Russian citizens and then declares war on me, which I don't get at all. They saw this genocidal nation destroy the German army in 3 months and said, nah, we'd win. Lion behavior, I respect it. After another month of doing nothing, the Germans just unconditionally surrender, which I am forced to reject, risking nuclear war. I thought this was what we wanted, but never mind, I guess. At this point, I'm just like, alright, might as well just ignore the tension anyways, and keep walking forward to see what happens. Oh, we gotta stop Germany, they all say, and when somebody does it, now you're a global pariah. It's ridiculous. Well, Japan isn't going to be able to do much in Siberia, and the Americans are too far away to do anything right now, so the road to Germania is pretty much open. Himmler tries to come in at the last minute to defend Germania, but I was swatting them away like flies. Soon, Black League soldiers would enter Germania, and when they arrived, well, the event kind of says it all. Their air was flooded with chemical gas, the ground littered with bodies, and the pristine buildings reduced to rubble. As Batov said, hatred of the invading enemy is the most sacred and humane feeling. But that hatred has many different ways of showing itself. I just want to state for the record that I didn't even have 20 nukes before this war started. How did the whole world die? I guess Germany was just like, screw everyone for not helping them fast enough, which actually does sound something like the Nazis would do, so I'll roll with it. However, in the ashes of the old world, the Black League and Yazov remains in the Glavkarik bunker. It's crazy how we spent the past 5 years building bunkers to survive this exact scenario, and this is all we kept. Meanwhile, Germany still has a bunch of territory, and Switzerland is just there, unbothered. This is what happens when you succeed in the Great Trial, and this is one of the endings since the post-apocalypse Yazov content isn't done yet. There is another ending unlocked when you do the focus Let the Heavens Fall. You get a new decision to unleash our arsenal, which is basically you rage quitting the war. If Yazov can't have this land, then nobody can. He even hits parts of Russia he had control of at the start of the war for some reason. But there you go, the great mistrial ending. From the Urals to the Vistula, Europe is nuked, and somehow Denmark caught them strays too. With that, I think I've seen about everything Yazov has to offer. I mean, narratively, it's certainly an interesting campaign, but gameplay-wise, once you get past the initial warlord stage, it's a breeze. I know TNO, like I said before, is mainly seen as the book club mod, but there's a real missed opportunity here to have the gameplay strengthen the narrative. I can't take all the talk about preparing for the Great Trial seriously when I know as soon as I click go on the battle plan button, I'm gonna win. The second West Russia war should be a challenging scenario to the player, so I hope the devs go back and rebalance the economy and at least help the AI to make some better templates. Anyways, if you still enjoyed this video, leave a like so others will see it too. Thank you to my alumni on Patreon generously supporting these videos. I'm gonna add a new perk to the $5 and $10 tiers where I will use your names to name stuff in my HOI4 videos or other games where I can. So if you want to watch my videos and be like,
Whoa. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
Sign up today. That's all from me now. Subscribe for more good content to come, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.